I wonder what you make of church. There are many of us here gathered that may consider themselves regular as they attend at Christmas and possibly at Easter. And before the Victorian parish communion group came into being and their ways sort of prevailed, and so we generally have communion every Sunday in the Church of England now, that would have been quite normal for attendance, particularly those of you who are involved in farming and so weren't really able to get out and about doing anything else on a Sunday morning. Generally it was mud and matins for the rest of us in between times. But even if you haven't set foot in the church for some time, but you just felt that okay, you would say yes when you're invited on this occasion, there is something about what our church buildings stand for that fascinates.
Sorry, the else thought you're on fire.
No. Well, thank you for looking out for me. I once was invited whether I would sit for a life painting class, and I thought if I went, having discovered I was allowed to remain fully clothed, I thought if I went blacked up in my Sunday best, it would give them a bit of a challenge. And one of the artists actually gave me a picture that she painted on that occasion, having shown it around locally in various art galleries. And it does look like I'm on fire. You might have seen it, you might not. But, so yes, churches and visiting them and what they stand for. There was a time when if you were English, you would be Church of England and you would just sign your name. There was a time when if you wanted to be employed by the local lord of the manor, you'd have probably had to be Church of England, otherwise they wouldn't have had you. You were kind of seen to be somewhat outside if you were, I don't know, Baptist or Roman Catholic or one of those other branches of what I consider to be the church today. And of course, as you look back through your church history, there were times when we would have all gleefully burnt each other at the stake. Happily, we're now more interested in burning each other at the stake, those of us that are Church of England who have different views, perhaps, than we are at burning people at the stake from other denominations. May God be merciful. You know, we look at the great institutions of England, the Conservative Party are kind of destroying themselves from the inside out. Arguably, the Church of England is doing the same. It just leaves the WI to follow. Where would we be without jam and jumpers? But I think actually, in many respects, having a more tangential, more mystical, more distant relationship with the church building and the spirituality that it presents is almost more endearing, more inspiring and more attractive than having to be baptised, having to have your child baptised so that they can go to the primary school or whatever it is. And I know there are some places where that still happens. It's my view and my opinion, and many of you know this, that as a parish priest, I am your vicar, whether I see you within these four walls or down the road at what was the pub at the Plough, or at a market, walking the dog, wherever it might be. I see myself as holding your cares and concerns, your spirituality, your progress as a human, holding those challenges of why we're doing what we're doing to each other in the world at the moment. Will there be a future for our children's children? And all those questions, it seems to me that's what I'm here for. It's not every vicar's view, and I know I'm standing 6 foot higher, but I don't see myself as that in reality, and I hope those of you who know me know that that is the case. But it is one of the challenges of our time as those who believe in that model of church that we do have to maintain people who can take services. We do have to maintain a trained group of people, just like any voluntary organisation, and we are a majority voluntary organisation, and I take my hat off to all those who are members of the PCC here that keep this church ticking over and going. But if we believe in what this church is here for and what it stands for, I would suggest we need to do something about that, above and beyond simply attending, for those of us that have the wherewithal and the capacity to do that. At one level, we are sort of liturgically, we're symbolically going to be standing around the outside of this church in a moment. If we really believe in this church and what it's here for, may I encourage you to seriously consider getting involved with and in the committee that looks after it. Or at the very least, offering to help clean and tidy. Maybe offering your skills and talents, maybe in a time-limited way if there are any particular projects that need to be fulfilled. We need a treasurer. There are works on the building. I think I'm right to say it's the windows, which is a relatively major project, which we need to get effectively planning permission and funding for to achieve, to stop the water getting in, so that it's still a worthwhile, dry, clean, tidy building that we can come into ourselves and worship in. Spend a quiet 5 minutes sorting ourselves out before we go back out into the wider world, giving a place of refuge, perhaps to families here on holiday in the summer on a rainy afternoon. All those things are of value and what this church is about and what it offers. And it wouldn't be here if it weren't for people giving their time and their money historically, and it may not be in future years if we don't do something about it now. Central Church's view is that we should be moving towards a lay-led, ordinary sort of congregation members, running events as and where they will, seeking central funding, paying for that particular event, having specified its particular outcomes, and to not throw good money after bad, keeping these old barns going, and that class of people who think they're somewhat special, and they really aren't. We can do this much better collectively. And so there's a particular challenge, nuance, whatever, there's a particular call I would suggest to those of us that believe in parish ministry as it is, that this building and what it stands for should be here and open to all. However, we are able to explain every aspect of what it means to us and how that relates to us. And I certainly don't know everything there is to know about what this building is and how what it means to me and how that all works. So I don't expect you to, or indeed anybody who doesn't even know that it's open, doesn't even know that they are allowed to come in. And in a year or two's time, our current bishops in the diocese and the suffragan, so our two sort of lead clergy in this county, are going to be stepping aside. And there's no knowing, God knows, of course, who will be replacing them. But it is not impossible that we get some bright young thing. This parish, this diocese has come on and come up, so it is a potentially sought-after post. But if whatever is done here as a pilot is successful, whoever it is that's been in post while that happens will be lauded and praised and thanked for it. But if it is a bit rocky and it doesn't quite turn out as it was hoped, it wouldn't be so disastrous as if that was undertaken perhaps in other dioceses. I, as I say, believe in this building and others like it across the country, not least because they are so equitable. Everybody can come in, everybody can sit, everybody can go, of all faiths and none. It's that sort of transcendent, mystical quality, that power, that energy that has been worshipped and understood and felt in this place even before this building was here, which is probably why it is. But if you believe like me in the value and worth of this building and of the traditional structure that locates this here, so it's important to us geographically. I know there are people in the seats in front of me who come from different villages, but you'll have a particular heart and love for yours, but we're worshipping together here this evening. I think we will lose more if we lose that parish system, that location and that sense of place, that sense of belonging that you have not only to this building, but hopefully to your clergy and they to you. I don't know what any future models of ministry may look like, but it almost certainly will be at more of a distance. I was recently talking to a police officer who bewailed the fact that there's no longer even volunteers inside the door at the reception at Halesworth. People just press a button like you do at the railway station, and I'm sure the same thing applies there. And you talk to somebody who may not be real, and you feel unloved and excluded, particularly if they say, well, all you should have done is gone home and ring 999, or I suppose 101 or whatever it is, but from your mobile phone, there's no point actually coming and talking to us, trying to talk to us face to face. I hope and pray that the church doesn't go in the same direction. I'm all for internet, I'm all for Zoom meetings and Zoom worship and accessibility. Cafe Church is one of our great offerings to those who are, at least for the time being, not so able to get out and about. But face to face, the building and the place, time and space, community are things that church stands for and I stand for. So I'm really pleased and grateful to be able to stand here with you as part of your community for however long I'm in post in this place, to hold your hand and have you hold mine, literally, as we gather around this building, saying that we believe in it. And if you do want to know any more about how you might be able to contribute on a short-term, long-term basis, financially in terms of skills and talents, do talk to any of us around and we'll point you in the right direction. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your prayers and thank you for your support. Amen.